You know what? Still top of the league, guys, and loving it. Yes, there is a huge game upcoming this weekend against Hearts, which will be a test. Of course, it will be. Hearts bang in form. And according to Hearts, the stories that I've heard coming out of Hearts, they are now targeting the top two, apparently. Wow. Wow, indeed. Big claims from Stephen Naismith, but let's face it, we all know what sort of a person Stephen Naismith truly is. Although, let's face it, I would love to see Hearts finish second to us. That'd be absolutely fantastic. You know, to see them finish second and that lot from across the city drop out the top two. That would be absolutely hilarious. Would love that to happen. But let's not count our chickens before they've been hatched. Let's, of course, think about this as Philippe Clement would want us to think of this a game at a time, a week at a time, a month at a time. That's the best way to think of it. That's what Philippe wants. That's what we need to do. So we're going to think a little bit about the future. We're going to think a little bit about other things going on around the club at this moment in time. Obviously, no midweek game this week. We are going to do a podcast tomorrow night here. Tomorrow night? No, not tomorrow. Tonight even, sorry. On Tuesday night at 8:35, myself, Lorah and Damien will be here to talk all things Rangers. So please obviously come and join us for that. So what we're going to talk about this morning then? What should we talk about? Let's talk about Tom Lawrence. Let's talk about Cyril Dessers. And let's talk about Mohamed, a bit more about Mohamed Diomande. Really love Mohamed Diomande, fast becoming a very popular player at Rangers. I'm also going to talk about the Zeb Jacobs and the Youth Academy and a signing that Rangers have made from Everton, of all clubs in the English Premier League. Not a signing to our first team, guys. Let's get that straight. But to our youth squad. Okay, so let's start off by talking a little bit about Mohamed Diomande. Mohamed Diomande was talking about his achievements on Sunday. And this is what he had to say. He said, I'm really happy to have my first goal at this amazing club. Great words, Mohamed. And I'm looking forward to more of this. The manager said to go and enjoy the game and play forward more. So I tried to do that. I tried to play forward to the strikers when I had the chance. And I think I did what I was supposed to do to help the team get the points. Get the 3 points. So some, good words there from Mohamed Diomande. Already getting, a bit of a song about him, apparently. That's what I've heard. We'll talk about that shortly. But, obviously he's talking about it's been an amazing club. Already loving the club, tapping the badge there. Interesting as well, the instructions that Philippe Clement clearly gave him. He talked about him, going and enjoying his football, playing more forward, being more aggressive from that 8 midfield role. And I think obviously that was tricky, wasn't it, on Sunday on that god-awful pitch, Like I said, pitch that I wouldn't even let my dog go to the toilet on. I really wouldn't. But yeah, good motion forward from Mohamed Diomande, good football, played well, and I think, like I said, he is that player who will carry the ball forward, a player who will try and dominate possession, control the pace of possession, control the pace of the game from that number 8 role and kind of really work towards linking defence, midfield and attack, and obviously linking up well with Todd Cantwell in the 10 role or whoever plays in that 10 role. It's also clear as well that, that forward motion is all what Philippe Clement is about. He hates passive passing. He hates backward passing. He hates slow football. He wants aggressive forward attacking football. And that is quite clear from what Mohamed Diomande is saying here. And yeah, Mohamed, you did help to get those 3 points. Now, it'd be interesting to see whether Diomande is used on Saturday with obviously Philippe Clement's, his ability, his desire to rotate the squad. It may be that Tom Lawrence comes back in and takes the 8 role. It may be that he sticks with Diomande. Who knows? Who knows what Philippe Clement has got planned. But I know one thing that kind of, for me, sticks out going into that game on Saturday against a very good Hearts side, who's currently at 3rd in the table, is we have to play our strongest possible 11. Yes, I know there is a need for rotation at times, but I think on Saturday, we need to put out there the strongest possible team we have to really go out there and lay down a marker. Now, they don't play till Sunday. It's a great chance to get 5 points clear at the top of the table. It's a great opportunity to really layer the pressure on them. No slip-ups are permissible from now until the end of the season. That's why I think we do need to go out with our strongest lineup. Now, we'll obviously build up a bit more to that game as the week progresses. We'll talk about it on the podcast tonight. What is the strongest lineup? That's a big question, isn't it? With the way he rotates, Philippe Clement is very much, horses for courses, players for games, isn't he? Realistically, I think, going into that game on Saturday, you got to be looking at what? Jack Butland in goal, Tav, Goldson, Suter, Ridvan. You've got to play Ridvan over Borna. Ridvan is just a better left back. And against Hearts, I think that's going to be what he needs to do. I would go with Diamande and Lundstrom again in front of the back four. I just think they were brilliant on Sunday. Then the three behind the striker, I think Ross McCausland has to come back into the team, mainly because Scott White was pish. Todd Cantwell, if fit, has to play in that 10 role. And Oscar Cortez on the left with Fabio Silva up front for me. I just don't trust Cyril Dessers. We will talk a little bit more about Dessers in this video. That's how I would line up. Guys, let me know how you would line up in the comments down below. Now, Rangers did make a signing today. Now, you may say, Owen, how is that possible? We're out the January transfer window. Well, yeah, it's not for the first team squad. Who did we sign? That's the question you all want to know. You want to know, who did we sign? How did we sign someone? And when are we going to see them play for Rangers? Well, we're not going to see them play for Rangers yet. This is a 16-year-old that we have signed. He's called Arian Allen, and there he is. He has joined the club after progressing through the ranks at Everton's academy. Now, apparently, he joined Everton just before his 10th birthday. He is a forward player who can play all across the front line, and he will join up with Steve Smith's under-18 squad ahead of a hugely exciting end to the campaign for those under-18s. Quite a coup, really, to bring someone from an English Premier League club. And yet again, you know, a real show that Rangers are dedicating a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort to this youth setup. You know, I did a video, didn't I? I did a video a few weeks ago, a month ago or so ago, about what we're doing in terms of how Zeb Jacobs was talking, you know, about the fact that this team is very much targeting this youth setup and really trying to develop the youth players and bring through the youth players. That is the way of the future for this club. And as I said, there's just something special, isn't there, about a young player who comes through the ranks at the club. You know, Ross McCausland, one of our own. He's one of our own. He's one of our own. Ross McCausland, he's one of our own. To nick the Harry Kane song from Tottenham. But yeah, Ross McCausland, obviously, it's just a bit more special, isn't it, about seeing someone who comes through the youth system. And that's the hope with Arian Allen, that he can progress through the youth system. And it's also testimony as well to how much work that Zeb Jacobs has done in terms of with Almiron as well. Of course, Zorav Almiron, our youth head youth coach, really developing this youth setup, really turning it into what we want it to be, which is one of the premier academies in Europe to come and actually work with. And there's a real desire there from the youth academy, isn't there, to really develop this into being a Ajax type, PSV Eindhoven, Feyenoord type school that brings through young players, and young players that obviously can fit into our trading model, and young players that can have an impact for the first team. You know, that, you know, perhaps in the past, you know, with bar the likes of Nathan Patterson, Billy Gilmore, for example, have been lacking. Ross McCausland, the latest of them. But there is, I think, a need for a club like Rangers to develop more of its own young players and bring through more of its young players. Now, Zeb Jacobs, talking about Arian Allen, said this. He said, "It's great for us to have Arian on board. We are excited to start working with him and develop his potential over the coming seasons." And it's quite clear that from what Zeb Jacobs is saying, that they see Allen having a big future at Rangers. You know, it's another Zach Lovelace type capture, isn't it? Bringing a young player through the ranks, bringing a young player from a English setup and bringing him up to Scotland to play for one of the biggest clubs in Europe. And that's an attraction for him. You know, the fact that he could break into the first team, the fact that he could play against 52,000 every other week, the fact that he can play regular European football here at Rangers has to be a massive, massive attraction for him, doesn't it? So welcome, Arian. Welcome, son. Welcome to the famous. Hope you excel for us. Now, I know it's weird to start talking about the summer already, but, you know, Rangers are going to have some decisions to make over the coming months as terms of next season's squad. And I know that seems weird with this league season's just really getting exciting and really getting on it. But, you know, there are players out of contract. There are players who are persistently injured. And the squad size at the moment sits at 30, the average age at around 26, 27. And I think there is a real need for Rangers to, number one, reduce their squad size. The squad size is particularly bloated at 30, which obviously leads to an inflated wage bill, which leads to a lack of ability to bring in players because of the amount of money we pay out in wages. We do actually have a higher wage bill than Celtic at this moment in time. We actually had a higher wage bill than PSV Eindhoven, who we lost to in the Champions League, which really is condemnation of the awful job the previous board and the previous director of football have done at this club. So look, it is a situation where we do need to trim the squad size. We do need to bring the average age down. And it's felt that Philippe Clement really wants to do that over the summer, that he wants to bring in potential assets that have a real future value, that have a real potential to succeed, that have potential to develop, very much in the same mould as the Mohamed Diomande, same as Oscar Cortez, as a Fabio Silva, for example, these young players who can come through and really impress. Now, I know what you're going to think. You say, well, what about experienced players then? We need experience. We've got a lot of experience there. John Lundstrom probably will be offered a new deal. James Tavernier is not going anywhere. Connor Goldson not going anywhere. Apologies there, not the microphone. Jack Butland, 30 years old. So there is experience within the squad. It's not like we're going totally over to the young players, which, when you field a team of young players, you are not going to be very successful. You need experienced heads there to help see games out. But it is felt that there are one or two players on this squad that are past their use-by date, past their sell-by date, and ready to be sold on. Now, according to sources at the club, sources that I've read online and sources that I've heard, one of the players who could be on his way out this summer is Cyril Dessers. Dessers has had some moderate success over the last few weeks for Rangers, scoring 12 goals, obviously, this season so far. However, his inconsistency is thought to be the reason why the club may be looking to ship him on, to get rid of him long term. I think a real testimony of that was on Sunday. He was brought on, and how many chances did he miss? Wanting too many touches in front of goal, clean through on goal twice, and absolutely blowing it like he did at Parkhead. There is, I think, with Cyril Dessers, a real mental weakness there when it comes to actually taking chances that are presented to him. When he has time to think, almost Fashion Sakala-esque, he struggles, doesn't he? And we saw that, on Sunday, we really did see those struggles from Cyril. So for me, Cyril Dessers has kind of reached the end of his useful purpose. And I think if we can get through to the end of the season, if he does say go on to score 20 goals this season, fantastic, because at least we may be able to then recoup some of the £4.5 million that we paid for him last summer to Cremonese. Now, according to the rumours that are going around, or the reports that I've heard, obviously, the Italian clubs were interested in the January transfer window. Torino reportedly interested, Verona reportedly interested. It's felt that there are Italian clubs that will take Dessers off our hands in the summer, and Philippe Clement will be ready to listen to offers for him. He is using it at the moment, yes, but it is kind of, I think, more out of necessity than actual desire to use him. We have only got himself and Fabio Silva on the squad at the moment who are fit. According to reports, obviously, Kemar Roofe is still weeks away. Danilo is pretty much done for the season. Zach Lacey is still a young upcoming player. So Silva and Dessers are the only real options. So it could be that Dessers is moved on in the summer, which, look, at the end of the day, I think it would be the right choice to make. I just don't think this guy has a long-term future at the club. He's 28 years old. If we can redeem some money for him, good news. He just worries me too much in critical games when chances fall his way that he won't take them, like that game at Parkhead, for example. I get the Betis game. Well done. Fantastic. But, in these domestic games, he has really struggled at times and has missed some absolutely awful chances that, would have been easily put away by other strikers. Now, I understand people saying that, they're comparing him with Haitley and McCoist, and I just think that's absolutely ridiculous. But yes, those two did struggle. Yes, initially they did struggle, but I just don't think that Dessers has the same skill, the same ability, the same talents as those two players had. And I think, yes, you can make this comparisons, of course you can, but at the end of the day, they're not the same players and they just don't have the same skill levels or the same skill set. So for me, if we can move on Dessers in the summer, that would be spot on. Now, another player apparently that Philippe Clement may well move on in the summer is Tom Lawrence. Now, it's thought that English Championship clubs could well be interested in moving for Lawrence. Now, one of the reasons why Clement may move Lawrence on is not because he doesn't rate him as a player, but his fitness record. Since coming to the club, Lawrence has missed an awful lot of games through injury, right from the very start of last season. Philippe Clement has talked obviously about wanting to have players that are persistently available, that are always there. You know, the best sort of ability is their availability, and that apparently could be a reason why Lawrence may be moved on in the summer. There is obviously that need to trim the squad, like I've said. There is a need to lower the average age. Tom Lawrence is one of the older players on the team, and according to the sources, it is a case that the Rangers do want to bring that average age down. Lawrence is 30 years old. It's not like he's going to achieve any greater value. It's not like he's going to develop and get any better. So if we could ship him on for some amount of money in the summer, that would be advantageous. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Tom Lawrence. I think he's a great player. I love Tom Lawrence. But his injury record is a major concern and a major holdback. And one of the big things for me, for Rangers, is we cannot afford to go into next season and the season after having so many thousands and hundreds of thousands of pounds of salaries sat in the stands week in, week out, persistently over a period of time in a season. We need players who are constantly available, constantly there to play. And that is probably why Philippe Clement may be looking on to move out Tom Lawrence. Well, guys, those are the stories from this morning. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Once again, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. Please hit that sub, help us to keep on growing. And on the way out, if you can do me 2 favors. Number 1, smash that like. And number 2, remember always, we are the people.